All right, everybody, welcome back to our second podcast. You will never see the first podcast because we had a mic issue and a headphone issue. So that's why you're seeing all the reels. So this is technically our second podcast. And I will go ahead and apologize in advance because cold and allergy season, I'm all jacked up. So if you see one of us step off camera, it's just to blow our nose so we can try and make it through. Today we're going to cover some gym myths. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and we hear these. I don't hear all of these every day, but probably in any given week, we probably hear this entire list.
A lot of them.
Yeah. So the more you know, the better off you'll be as far as pursuing your goals and how to go about pursuing them in the best way possible. So probably just start at the top. And this is one of the biggest ones that I hear is spot reduction.
I probably hear that more times than any other question of like, how do I get rid of my back fat?
Yeah. And it used to be, I primarily heard this from women, but now I think it's about 50-50. Like I even hear guys saying it now a lot.
Yeah,
so
sometimes.
As a myth, it's almost like it's growing. It's not getting better. It's getting past more.
And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, just because your body, you can't choose where you're going to start losing fat at.
Right.
And just in the muscle and fat are two entirely different molecular compounds. And so like it's
not even the same type of tissue. It's on a cellular level, it's different.
It's entirely different.
Yeah.
They're made up of two entirely different things. And if you break them, like the molecules up, you realize there's different atoms in them too. So there's absolutely zero way to go ahead and like spot reduce this by working it out more.
And people are like, well, I'm going to do 1,000 crunches. And it's like, okay, well, one, you can't work out fat. Fat's not a muscle. And on a metabolic level, how your body is going to break down a unit of energy, a fat cell, a triglyceride into a unit of energy. It can't just key into one area. It's overall, it's pulling from everywhere. Adipose, visceral, subabdominal. It's pulling where it can. It's not, you can't just gear it towards one area.
And when you think, I don't remember, it might've been you that told me a long time ago or somebody else, but like when the abs is a great example of like where people always want to lose fat at, but they just don't. Mm-hmm. But when you actually are working out at your abs and they grow, so that muscle actually grows
and pushes them out,
and the fat, and you don't drop any fat, it's actually just going to make you look fatter
a little bit. Yeah,
your abs aren't showing any more definition, so you just still have fat on there, and now you just look like you have a bigger stomach.
Yeah, and we just call it a power belly.
Yeah, and it's not saying like it's like don't work out your core at all because you're going to look fatter. It's like no, it's just the concept of it.
Yeah, and then just a couple quick points on this. The longer you have fat on you, it seems that your body likes to hold it like it's like your myostatins are reset. So generally what we'll tell people is you're going to lose it the last place you gained it first, and you're going to lose it the first place you gained it, because whatever you gained first from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 20 years ago, whatever the date is, how long it's been, that thinks it's supposed to be part of your body.
It becomes a new regular for what your body should hold.
Right. So the other thing is, for a lot of you ladies, you'll notice that not all of you hold it in the same area. Typically we think like women will hold it in their hips in general.
Right.
But that's not always the case. It's hormonally controlled. So some of you will hold it in your back more. Some of you will hold it in your hips. It just really depends. And that's on a hormone level. It's not anything, it's not because you didn't work out a certain way or forgot a whole entire muscle group. It just has to do with your hormones are controlling where that fat gets deposited.
Right.
For me personally, just being a great white Caucasian hairy male, I hold it in my back.
I hold mine in my obliques.
Yeah. So like, we're all a little different. Like my back is the last thing to lean out on me.
My muffin tops, they just don't ever go away. I just have them forever.
So spot reduction, just understand you can't spot reduce, short of liposuction.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Which is not don't get liposuction. I'm not saying do that, but
that's really the only way to be like, I want this fat gone.
Right.
Let's do some surgery to get it off.
The next one, I'm about to piss some people off with this one, but I don't really care at this point. The challenges, like the 30-day challenges or the 6-week challenge or stuff like that. First off, well, let me separate one thing out. There is times where military units do this, or a gym will do this, or a firehouse or something like that. That's for charity. I'm not knocking those. Like that's not in this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your normal trainers and gyms that are constantly doing this turnover of like
get abs in 6 weeks,
yes,
or lose 50 pounds in this amount of time.
Right. First of all, you need to understand it's all a scam. It's a money scam. Because how many people have ever did a 30-day or a 60-day challenge and you're like, oh, I'm good to go for life now. Like they don't even get taught anything in the challenge.
Yeah.
So you basically, and their challenges usually aren't cheap. So you gave up a whole bunch of money and you got zero education out of it. And you also got zero benefits long-term.
And people think that like 10 years of shit
can be undone
in 30 days.
Right.
And it's just not how it works. And if it did work, why would somebody have to continue doing it over and over again?
Exactly. It's a short-term Band-Aid that really puts your health at risk. Because you're not fixing anything. You're just putting a Band-Aid over it, not really learning any discipline or positive habits to take down the road.
Well, yeah, it kind of pulls the whole entire discipline aspect out of it, because if you're just like, oh, I can fix myself in 30 days and then I'll never have to do this. I won't have to do it for another 2 years or however long. And then it kind of like takes the whole point of health. And like if it was that easy, everybody would do it. First of all, you would see
everyone would do a 30-day challenge once a year and we'd all be jacked and beautiful. And that's just not.
It's reality. Like those, you see those, like you should cleanse yourself once a year to lose. You're holding on so much fat in your
the detox.
I don't even know
bullshit and all that.
Just talking about getting rid of waste, and it's like, okay, if that worked, I would do it once or twice a year, and then I would look fantastic all the time. But that's not how it works.
Right.
I don't just carry extra waste in me the whole entire year. Like that's why we have poop.
Right. Yeah. A lot of them too. They're super strict diets that are unrealistic. The diets are so strict they're not even healthy. A lot of them have you eliminate an entire food group,
right?
Which is also not. It's not sustainable long term, and it's also not healthy. The main thing is, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, but
no, you're fine.
To wrap up the strict diet portion, is it in that 30 days? Generally, what happens is they end up with a more unhealthy relationship with food than when they started.
Yep.
And then they rebound, and that's why they start these challenges over and over and over, is because of that. Like they've got you into that cycle pattern, and you just have to keep buying in.
Right. Alcohol is a really big thing in those challenges too. Like, don't drink alcohol for this amount of time, and like that's the whole goal. And how a lot of people look at it is like, okay, if I don't drink alcohol for 30 days, I get to drink alcohol again. It's like, and I'm not saying alcohol is the worst thing in the world, but done in moderation, it'll be okay.
Right.
But an overconsumption in it is not. And so they won't drink for those 30 days, and then they'll just binge out. And then the problem now gets worse. It's like, that was not the point of the challenge.
Right.
Like the actual point was to try and help you not drink or learn how to drink less. But people think if I just stop for 30 days, then I can just do it a whole bunch again. And it's
again. Now you have an unhealthy relationship with food, alcohol, anything else that you put in there. It's just it just keeps trickling on and on and on. Versus, like you're saying, just learn to have a glass or two of wine with dinner and shut it down.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to drink a case of beer all the time or 2 bottles of wine or 2 pitchers of margaritas
and I'm not saying not every once in a while. It's, people get a little rowdy, but you just gotta
time and place.
Learn to take care of yourself is really all it is.
Yeah. And like you said, in moderation, I'm not going to even pretend that I don't walk around the gym carrying beer at night. Like I do. But I have my 2 or 3 beers in moderation. I don't drink at home. I don't go out.
And it's not like...
Am I saying is it perfect or optimal? No, but you have to have your lifestyle has to work for you. But it can be, as you stated, everything in moderation is fine. Like, we're supposed to enjoy life. It's not all
strict all the time.
Regiment, grind,
Yeah, no, like you got to relax a little bit. Like, you got to be able to take things that are fun for you. And I don't want to say it's good for your like mental health, but you have to do some things that are going to like help you relax a little bit. But you can't overdo it, because when you start becoming comfortable living that way, that's when you start seeing detrimental effects. Like, sleeping, taking a nap every once in a while, or taking, a short nap here and there. Yeah, that's good for your health. It can be really good for your mental because it just feels like a complete reset. But getting used to sleep all the time and wanting to sleep and not do work is not a good thing to do.
Right.
And it's not beneficial for your life. I mean, that's just another example.
Time and place.
Yeah.
I think that's these challenges, I freaking hate them. And there's so many people making money off of them. And 99% of the people making money off these have no fucking clue what they're doing. Like they're downloading. So people don't realize, like in the gym and fitness world, there's places where people can go that don't know what they're doing and buy into these things, and it gives them everything. They're like, here's your 12-week fat loss challenge. Here's your body by summer program. Here's your this. Here's your that. And then they just turn it around and remarket it, and then charge people $300 for it. And it's all cookie cutter. And it's all for pure profit.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of like those cookie cutter stuff, they're good in the sense of a beginner stage. And like, it's weird, but people have to realize that they're all different. And so like what works for some people does not work for you.
Right.
And people have to realize that like overcoming this issue, somebody might have done it one way, but there's going to be 1,000 different ways for you to overcome a certain issue. And thinking that somebody else's way is not going to work for you. Like their way won't work for you all the time. And thinking that it's going to be a quick thing is not beneficial either, because nothing's going to come quick when overcoming an issue.
Right. And for the majority of people that are doing these challenges, they're sedentary the rest of the time. So this is another risk area, is you're taking somebody who's been sedentary for a while, and then you're throwing them into this hardcore challenge, which they're not prepped for. They're not prepped mentally or physically.
No. And they're just going to hate it.
So there's no balance to them. It's just the workouts don't have a rhyme or reason. It's just about getting their butt kicked. So you're taking a large portion of out of shape, sedentary people, throwing them into this high intensity, limited time challenge, and they're going to get jacked up.
Yeah.
A lot of them are. We see a lot of injuries come out of those. So for example, like there's 100 squats a day challenge for like 30 days. What most people don't realize is I've done one of those before. Not in the context of a 30-day challenge, but it's somebody not understanding what that entire evolution is about. So if me and Jaden decide to do it, we're going to do 100 squats a day for 30 days. People don't understand. We're not doing that for the physical aspect of it. We're doing that for mental. We're doing that to get our minds stronger.
It's not meant to make our bodies better.
Right.
It's meant to see if we are capable of handling something that's mentally tough.
Right. So we're using something physical to make our minds tougher. It has nothing to do with getting us in shape.
Right.
And
we don't hate it either. We know the purpose of it is to benefit our mind and see what lengths we can go to push it.
Right. And we also self-regulate. So the squats might feel awesome till day 17. And then day 17, we're like, we got to take this weight down.
Yeah.
Or we're going to just get hurt.
I'm going to get hurt.
And then we might have to go to body weight for a few days. And then we can slowly ramp back up. So we know how to auto-regulate that. But the average person is not. Nor does the person running that challenge.
Yeah. And then, but the same thing that we do, somebody else won't be capable of doing it all. They might be burnt out by day 2 or day 3, but then they expect them to continue moving on, and that's where you do see those injuries, or they just end up hating it all together because they're not physically capable of it.
Right.
And so it's just putting their life through, like, a workout doesn't have to be hell to be a good workout. No. Like, it doesn't have to be the worst workout in the world to be a good workout. And so then they just turn away from working out altogether because they think this is how it has to be.
Right.
They think workouts have to be crappy all the time. Well, in case everybody doesn't know, we don't have great workouts all the time. Like, there are days we don't feel good and we don't want to do anything, so we just kind of coast through it and make it happen. It doesn't mean it's a terrible workout or a bad workout. It just means that day you weren't capable of doing your 100% best.
Right.
Like, it was the 100% best of that day.
Yeah, I don't really need to add anything.
Yeah.
I think I pretty much summed it up. Next one. Muscle turns into fat and vice versa. Fat can turn into muscle. This one, sometimes I don't know where to start with this one, people, because
we touched on it kind of earlier.
It's okay. So we talked about at the beginning. It's 2 different forms of tissue, all the way down to the cellular level. Muscle comes in 3 forms: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Versus most of the fat that you're gonna really deal with. I'm not saying these are the only types of fat. I'm just saying the typical body fat is either going to be adipose or your subabdominal layer, which most people, I don't even want to go down that road. But realize, like, your adipose tissue is made up of triglyceride with a glycerol backbone, and what's it, three fatty acid chains? Yeah, 3 fatty acid chains.
That's why it's triglyceride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. So one cannot turn into the other, and the other can't be turned into.
Well, I think that's where people get it mixed up is like a bit biology.
They don't understand recomp.
Biology will tell you that they technically can't. Can your body technically do it? The answer is yes, but will your body do it? The answer is no, because that process takes up so much energy that it's actually going to be detrimental.
And a lot of people will be like, well, I quit working out and I don't have as much muscle. I have more fat, but the scale stayed the same. And you need to understand, you lost muscle mass from not working out, and then you gained fat from eating shitty and also not working out.
Right.
2 different things. One didn't change into the other. You just had a decrease in one and an uptake in the other.
Right.
Okay, here we go. If women lift, they will get bulky. So you hear this a lot.
Yeah.
That's why women shouldn't strength train. They should just do cardio.
No, that's the worst thing. That's probably one of my least favorite myths.
Least favorite, and also the most uneducated probably of all these myths.
Right.
Yeah, this has been definitively debunked in, I don't know how many, a million times. Yeah. Both in clinical settings, anecdotally, in the gym every single day.
And it really just starts from realizing that men and women are biologically different.
Oh, what?
Oh, wait. It's 2022.
There's not 71 genders? Like,
yeah, realizing that men and women are biologically different, though, and that our skeletal structures are different, where we carry our androgen receptors, how many we have, who has more testosterone in their body.
Myostatin.
Like, realizing that a woman, the only possibility for a woman to look like a man, like in the sense of like body type,
right,
is if they
take male androgens.
Yeah, if they make their testosterone go up through drugs, and it's just not.
It's not just testosterone. They can do it to other male androgens. But yeah, ladies, just fundamentally need to understand that, and just go ahead and cut through all the air in the room. You cannot get bulky. You could deadlift every single day. You are not going to get bulky like a male. The only way for a female to get bulky like a male is two ways, and they're both the same issue. Either she naturally has an overproduction of testosterone that her body, just hormonally, she's messed up. She's producing too much testosterone. The other way is taking endogenous hormones that are designed for men and or livestock. That's it. That's the only way you can get bulky and muscular like a male.
And like, what do they consider bulky? I've never heard a woman complain about her legs growing. Yeah, are they just talking like
or
the
butt growing?
Yeah, you've never heard that. So it's like, are you just afraid of your traps getting big, or your arms, or like?
Well, I think a lot of it is
You think
the only female that they've ever seen in that context is a female competitor that's on the bodybuilding stage, who's
on drugs,
juiced to the gills, not understanding that there's millions and millions, if not a billion, women over the whole entire planet that lift weights for sports, recreation, you name it, that are not bulky.
Yeah.
You have to intentionally. It doesn't happen on accident either. Like, even when a woman is using performance enhancing drugs, it's still not easy.
No, because
it's
even
done with intent.
Even then, their food is going to still be the thing that makes them
workout,
bulky.
recovery, intensity, all that stuff matters. I mean, look at how many guys use gear and they
don't get big,
look like shit, and they're fat
because they just don't know how to eat.
Right. So it's not as simple as just taking peds.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot that plays into a woman actually being able to become bulky in the sense of the way they're thinking.
Right.
Like,
and I don't want to go too much down the performance enhancing drugs in women, because we're going to do a separate podcast on that, which will cover, a lot of stuff more in depth.
That's a lot of
But ladies, just understand, you can come in the gym and lift every single day. You're not going to get bulky. Women who lift weights burn fat at twice the rate as women that do cardio only. That's been studied, tested. They actually get leaner, and they do not get bulky. The opposite happens.
And they don't, and the majority of the women that come in, like, I'm not saying all, that's why I'm saying the majority, they're not coming in for, first of all, bodybuilding or powerlifting. No. A lot of them aren't even coming in for sports. So when you guys are looking at it in a health stance, like making sure your joints stay healthy, your shoulders are healthy, your elbows, making sure you just can pick up, let's say you have a child and being able to carry your child. When you're looking of lifting in that sense, now you're not going to get bulky at all, because you're not lifting to become a crazy bodybuilder.
Right.
You're lifting for health. And so then you're really never going to get bulky.
No. And we also know from, again, tons of clinical research that the only thing that stops bone density loss in a female is strength training.
Yeah.
Not machines, not cardio, free weight training.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing to stop bone density loss. So it could be argued that women belong in the weight room more than men do.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that issue. I mean, we do lose bone density, but
not at the rate of women lose.
Not the rate women lose, and not till we get way older. So you could make the argument that women, well, actually, I do make the argument. If they had to pick one thing, it should be strength training, because that's going to do them more benefit over their lifetime out of that than just focusing on cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
They're both important. But.
And I also we've probably just put out too many lies that women don't belong in the gym. And that's kind of screwing with them too. And I think we need to stop trying to tell women that you don't belong in the gym.
Yeah.
Like you just stated, it's pretty important for a woman to free weight train. And
it's very important.
And we kind of just we've thrown so much stuff at them saying they don't need to be in the gym, or like, this is for guys. It's like, no. And like that's probably what one of the myths was. You think you're going to get too bulky. Well, it's keeping women out of the gym.
It is. And it's, I'm not around men that say that. I've never heard a man say that in my life, but I also don't hang out with betas. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, don't. I think the only people that are running around saying women don't belong in the gym is insecure males,
Right.
Who are too worried about a woman being stronger than them. Which, frankly, there's a lot of women that are stronger than the average guy that goes to the gym every day. People, they're not aware of it because they don't see it. They're not in that circle. But I mean, we have females that are deadlifting 600 plus pounds now.
Yeah.
Squatting 7.
And those, that's not like, you won't see the average gym male even touch 5.
No.
And
so
they won't even bench 3 plates.
Right.
And there's like Jen Thompson's nuts.
Yeah.
She's out benching a lot of the males that I know.
123. She's been benching 320 for like 12 years.
Like,
and she's in her 40s.
She probably benches more. I'd put it upwards towards like 80% of the people I know.
Yeah.
Because then again, not a lot of the people I know are benching in the 3s. Like, it's a small amount of people.
Right.
But to think that woman's just obliterating these male strengths out here.
And again, Jen, she's a very petite woman. And she's very feminine.
Yeah.
A lot of the lifters are. I mean, look, Laura Phelps, very feminine.
Yeah.
Small, petite girl. Look at our ladies that, Peg's still feminine.
Yeah, Peg's she doesn't look like a man.
No.
She's not a man.
And we have probably 6 physique girls, half a dozen or so on this side.
Mm-hmm.
All very lovely women, very not manly at all.
Yeah.
Very sexy. There's nothing, they're not bulky. They're not any of the stereotype that a lot of you women are passing around.
Yeah. Like, you can go to the gym and still be a woman.
Right. And don't look at a competition photo and assume that's how they look all the time. They had to look that way to get on stage to just do a certain thing, but they don't look that way the rest of the time.
They can't walk around that way.
It's just, so when you're seeing these photos, realize they look like that for 24 hours.
And Photoshop.
And different stuff.
And tanning stuff. And things that, shadows bring out, like lighting makes a big difference. Right. And so, like, these people don't look like this in a regular gym setting. Like, if you just throw them in regular lighting, people, like, they're going to look way different now.
Right.
Or you take their pump away, now they really look different. Or it's not normal what people are seeing.
Right. So the takeaway, ladies, don't be afraid to lift. It's going to benefit you in every single way. Not only physically, but just mentally, your confidence, all that stuff. You belong in the gym. Anybody that tells you don't, tell them shut the fuck up. Because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I like seeing women. That's motivating to me. I just don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of freaking smelly dudes.
No. It's gross.
Yeah. And we have fun. Like in our group, when the guys are in with the girls, like, it's a good time.
Yeah, because you're not just surrounded by the competition of males now.
Right.
And you realize that doesn't all have to be a competition, because we do a great job of making things competition between each other. But you don't realize it doesn't always have to be a competition. It can actually be a fun time to socialize with people.
Yeah. You can still push each other and not, you don't have to get into a male or female thing,
Yeah.
And it's also a nice break from the normal, just meathead shit.
Yeah.
You want to take this one? Squats are bad for your knees. This one, I've heard this my whole life. You probably have to, but
yeah, actually, not squatting is bad for your knees. How are you going to get on the toilet? If you can't squat,
it's one of the most fundamental movements a human can make.
Everything. How are you going to pick up your baby? How are you going to carry your kid around? How are you going to pick up anything?
Do yard work.
And so by saying squats are actually very good for your knees, until you're rolling up in obviously like 1,000-pound club, then it could be detrimental. But the regular gym squatter, it actually builds your knees and it strengthens them. And so by keeping your tendons, ligaments, your muscles all healthy and strong, is actually way more beneficial for your knees. I mean, You got to think like, let's just take hamstrings for just an example. You are at a I think women were at a 60% greater risk of tearing their ACL. Oh, women's sports, non-contact women's sports were at a 60% greater risk of tearing their ACL when they had weak hamstrings. Well, squatting is one way that we can build our hamstrings to an extent.
Right.
And when like that's just an example of like that's one way that we can keep our knees strong.
Yeah, you can't you can't protect a joint by not using it. You not using it is going to make it weak. Like
right,
it's got to go through the paces. That doesn't mean we need to just load the crap out of a barbell and squat everyone.
No,
but it's a fundamental human movement. It's called the king of all lifts for a reason. It's a whole body movement. Everybody thinks it's just a lower body, but it's a full body movement done correctly.
Right.
And the reason why most people have this stigma that it's bad for your knees is because they have knee pain because they're either overweight, they lack the mobility to do a squat correctly, or they just simply have never been taught how to squat
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't realize mobility is a huge reason of why they're in pain.
Right.
Like,
but look at the first thing like a baby does after they start walking. They start squatting ass to grass. Like that's their position that they like to be in. And then, as we get older, we stop moving like children and we lose that ability. And then people will start doing it again. They're like, oh, this is horrible for your knees. And it's like, no, you just don't know how to do it correctly.
And you haven't done it in so long, it's going to hurt.
Right.
It's like, well, if it was bad for your knees, because Peggy likes to talk about how, like over in Korea, they'll all just sit in the squat while they eat, while they just do pretty much everything.
Right.
They'll just sit. Well, if that was the case, then you wouldn't see any Korean person walking.
No, and you would also see them going through a high knee replacement rate.
Yeah.
But they're not.
So it kind of just negates the fact that squats are bad for your knees.
Right.
Again, you can't take the 1,000-pound squatters as a statistic because the 1%ers.
And that's all within reason too. So I don't want to get into like the different types of hips there are and squat depth. Like I don't even want to go down that road in this podcast, but loading your spine is an issue. Not everybody needs their spine loaded.
No.
So if you're not a competitive lifter, an athlete, and you're in the gym, you're over 50. You're in the gym just for general health. Can I put a loaded barbell on your back? Yeah, of course.
If you want to.
But there's no actual reason. So I'm not going to make you.
There's no need.
Because there's other forms of squat that I can have you do without loading your spine.
Right.
So discs degenerate over time. They dry out. You get less disc height. So am I going to put a loaded barbell on an older person's back that doesn't want it? No, absolutely not.
No.
That's my job to find other ways to get them all the benefits of the squat without loading their spine.
Like your dad, for example.
Yeah.
We're never going to put him on a loaded barbell, but he does belt squats.
He does belt squats. He's had 2 back surgeries and 1 neck fusion. Like, no, I'm not going to put a loaded barbell on his back. And there's no need.
But your dad moves very well.
For somebody in their late 70s, yes.
Like the fact that he's still crawling under mobile homes,
Even though I told him to stop numerous times.
They don't listen. No. The parents don't listen.
But which is also a prime example of use it or lose it.
Yeah.
You stop moving, you lose.
Well, he told me that though. Like I remember one time your dad sat me down and he was like, he had a story of like how he's at McDonald's and he's like, well, all these old people are just sitting here saying they can't move and they hurt. And he's like, I don't want to be like the rest of these old people. I want to be able to move.
Right.
And so,
it's quality life.
He started reaching out to you and being like, hey, I need to work out. I need to be able to move.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sitting when I die. Like, I don't want to just be sedentary when I die.
Right.
And it's just a prime example of, like you just said, move it or lose it. And a lot of people lose it because they think it's bad.
Right. So if you're one of those people that we've kind of discussed and your knees hurt, go find somebody, if you're not here, find someone that can actually teach you or look at your squat and analyze it and tell you what you're doing wrong.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if you do find a person with a good eye that has the biomechanics background to actually fix and teach you to squat correctly, you're not going to have knee pain.
No.
So that I would encourage you to do that. This one kind of goes right in here with this, same as squats are bad for your knees, is deadlifts are bad for your back. We're either going to do a really short or we're going to go off on a tirade on this one, depending on how this goes.
This will probably be a disagreement with some people, but deadlifts are the best back exercise in my opinion. They are the greatest back exercise for both making your lower back strong, but when you perform them correctly, you don't get hurt.
Right. So again, it's a fundamental human movement of picking something off the ground. Mm-hmm. So outside of that issue, where most, and we have weightlifting coaches that believe this, which is, I kind of wonder where they got their degrees from. But there's some things that need to be in line before you deadlift.
Right.
Deadlift heavy, I should say.
Yeah.
So where the weak link in the chain is dependent on when and if you get to deadlift. So if you're going to go and try and deadlift, but your core is weak,
it's a bad idea.
Your back is going to pay the price.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If you don't have good quad strength, especially lower quad development, you're going to feel some knee pain. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know how to set your lats and your upper back correctly, you're going to see pec issues and other areas of your back start getting injuries. Mm. So basically what I'm trying to say is deadlifting is very healthy for you, and I think it's a great exercise.
Right.
However, you just need to have some checks on the blocks before you start ramping up your deadlifts.
Right. It's the same concept of we don't just throw somebody in a bench that can't control 20-pound dumbbells. It's not, they are going to get hurt if they get under that barbell. If they are not prepped to get under there, it's the same thing with those people doing the challenges. They're not prepped to go do it, so they're going to get injured. It's the same thing of if you're not prepped to do deadlifts, you shouldn't do deadlifts. If your body is incapable of doing that movement correctly without getting injured, you should not do it.
Right.
And anybody that says the risk to reward ratio here,
here we go.
It's stupid because I'm not even going to get into.
Yeah.
But my lower back has never hurt from speed pulls, for example. Obviously, my lower back's going to be sore from a max effort.
Right.
But speed pulls, and you got to think a good morning's very close to a deadlift. Whenever I stop doing those heavy, my back hurts more. Mm-hmm. And so all the time, I either have heavy good mornings or heavy deadlifts in there because I need my back to not hurt, because I don't like having a hurt back. That's probably the most uncomfortable pain in my brain.
Right.
If my legs hurt, my triceps hurt, whatever. But when my back hurts, I'm just pissed off.
Yeah, having back pain is not fun. And I think it's the most common ER admission is low back pain.
Really?
And majority of people's low back pain is because they have a weak back.
Yeah. So, and deadlifts are great at building your back. Yes. They're fantastic at building your lower back.
Right. And again, we over time, we're getting so far away from actual knowledge that we keep getting further and further away to, let's pull out all deadlifting. And now everybody has weak backs. And now they're getting injured at a higher rate.
Right.
And at some point, we just got to have a come to Jesus moment where we're like, hey, can we all just stop being dumb and just do the things we're supposed to do?
Right. But now
it's the people that hurt, I hurt my back deadlifting once. Okay. Well, I can tell you have a weak core. You have no hip mobility. You don't have any hip flexor strength.
Right.
So don't demonize an exercise because you were weak in a certain area.
Right.
And that's not.
And I'm not saying
it's not how it works.
Everybody should do conventional deadlifts either. Obviously, different goals are going to dictate whether you do it or not. I just think it's the point of saying deadlifts hurt your back.
Right.
Is the big myth, but I'm not saying everybody has to do deadlifts.
No,
because some people don't need deadlifts. if I have a basketball player, he doesn't need, if his back's moderately strong,
right,
he doesn't need to do deadlifts. He's going to do sumo deadlifts to build his hips.
Yeah, and that's
where it's like
kind of going down a different lane there.
Yeah, we're not trying to say that everybody needs to deadlift. We're saying stop saying deadlifts are bad for your back.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because past a certain age, you don't need a deadlift. It's not worth it. Again, it's a disc height. Injuries, accumulate over your life. And not everybody has to deadlift, like you said. Yeah. There's plenty of other foundational movements that you could do in the place of deadlifts that will check all the blocks without deadlifting. But you should just don't demonize the deadlift because you don't know how to do it correctly.
But I also think everybody should at least know how to deadlift correctly.
Yeah, because everybody has to pick something up off the ground. So we should all know how to pick something up heavy safely off the ground.
So you don't have to do, it's not saying everybody has to do it, but you should all know how to do it safely.
Because how many other movements start with a deadlift in the gym? You know what I mean? Even a barbell row starts out to a certain extent with a deadlift.
Barbell row, cleans.
Yeah. We'll save that one for another podcast. This one, machines are better than free weights. This one I've heard a lot.
Yeah. So, and you can't, they're two entirely different things and they have two entirely different purposes.
You have determined that. They've been studied. Yeah. Free weights excel in every other metric over machines. And what people don't understand is, and I'm not saying machines are bad. I use machines.
Right.
Time and place. Not for the majority of my work, but so when machines first came out, businesses and gyms realized that they could fit a whole lot more machines in their facility, and therefore they could up their membership count. It's not because they're superior or they work better. It's just so they could get more people in the doors.
Right.
Because anybody, if you've ever been to a professional training facility or a D1 facility, anything like that, even our other side of the gym, it's power racks, platforms. That's the main athletic stuff that we use.
Yes.
Specialty bars, things like that. Those take up a huge footprint. Even a power rack takes up, the power rack itself only is a 4x4, but by the time you put it on a platform, your platform is 4x6. That's the minimum. If you're going to put a platform in combination with a power rack, now you're looking at a 6x8. So 6x8, by the time you put 20 of those,
that's a lot.
Your building's full.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's how we train athletes. Right. We don't use machines.
Well, I think a good example is like, what do you think is better, lat pull downs or pull-ups? Pull-ups. I think pull-ups are better.
Pull-ups are better.
Yeah.
But can everybody do pull-ups? No.
No. That's why I'm saying there is also a time and a place too.
No, I agree. Yeah. So I'm not anti-machine. I just think people need to understand machines aren't better. They're just different.
Yes.
And they were brought in for a different reason than what everybody thinks. The other thing is, which is my main concern with them, bone density, you're not stabilizing the weight. Right. All right. So one, you're losing tendon and ligament and muscle stabilizers because you're not stabilizing anything. So you're not getting any benefits in those areas, which is generally where a lot of people see injuries. The other thing is, for females, you're doing nothing for your bone density because, again, you're not causing enough stress to actually stimulate your body to increase your bone density.
Right.
So again, time and place. We do them, let's just say I have six to eight movements in a workout. The first three are not going to involve a machine of any type. Sometimes the first four.
And I might only have one or two machines in there.
Right.
Because for example, the pec deck's a great example for me because flies just beat my shoulders up for some reason. I just don't feel like I get a fantastic pump out of them, but on a pec deck I can, and I don't hurt. But that's what I'm saying. It's a time and a place, and that's the only thing I do.
Right. And some of it's for safety too. So you'll see a lot of big, large men that you can tell bodybuild. you'll see them on machines, but realize they're pushing past the point of fatigue. So if they were trying to stabilize a barbell or a dumbbell for rep 30 or rep 40 or rep 50, they're at a pretty high risk of injury.
Yeah.
Versus on a machine, they can go till they because they're just trying to cause muscle cell damage. They're not trying to get stronger. They're not trying to do all the other stuff that's in the strength training world, which I don't want to overcomplicate this, but you're at fatigue at rep number 38 with a dumbbell, you're at pretty high risk of injury.
That's a lot scarier.
Versus if you're on a pec deck or a cable machine,
right?
The worst thing that happens is it doesn't move.
Right.
Like you're like, okay, I'm done.
Or that dumbbell, if the dumbbell doesn't want to move, well, there goes my shoulder.
Right. I think that's really it. Just people just understand they're different.
You just got to understand that there's two. They're just different.
Yeah.
They're just different things, and depending on your goal, can determine what's better for you and what's not.
And some of it's for pain management too.
Yeah.
So stretching, you should always stretch before your workout. This is another myth. This was pretty common up until, I don't know, a couple years ago. I think it's still generally believed.
Yeah. I think a good, like, what is it called? Not a anecdote, like a good comparison. I don't know. You can't just take a rubber band and out of a freezer and just stretch it.
Stretching is very healthy. Everyone should stretch. But we know now that stretching temporarily weakens your muscles. Mm-hmm. It also elongates your tendons and ligaments. So it puts you at risk of injury to weightlift
right
after stretching. Stretch on the backside, stretch on your day off. Of course, perfect. Everybody should be doing that. But weakening your muscles before you put it under a load isn't just not a good idea. That's common sense.
Yeah.
It's also not how our muscles work. We know this is common to us, this is kind of, but if your muscles are elongated, they do not have the force output that they normally would have if they were in their normal state.
No.
So a dynamic warm up, which I'm not going to go down the road of a dynamic warm up because that is a whole nother, we could be here a while. Dynamic warm up is something different, which you should do. Movement patterns you should do as part of your warm up, and then just generally just get your body warm. That is. And
stretching is not a way that's
no. Stretching is not a way to get warm.
No,
stretching is a cool down movement.
Yes, and so it's like stretching does no benefit in like you said, learning the movement pattern or actually prepping your body to do this movement. Like right. I don't stretch. I got really far away from like trying to warm things up. Like I'm going to take bench press again. Mm-hmm. Unless like my shoulders are really bugging me, then I'll do some like dumbbell shoulder press or something before I bench, or front raise or whatever it is.
Right.
But I don't stretch them because stretching out my shoulders doesn't make them prepared to take on a bench press. Really, the majority of the time I'll just get onto the bar and just sit there and press until I feel like I'm ready to move on.
Exactly. And that's how, I try and teach people to warm up too. Is like you should be warming up with the movement.
Yeah.
And then you've got, the people that come in the gym and slap 225 on a barbell and start taking it. And not only are you not warm, but you haven't even turned on anything in your body. And not only are you at huge risk for injury, you just look like an amateur. Like that's, you wouldn't ever go just walk onto the turf and try and break your 40.
No.
In the first, like just walk up and do it. But that's what they just walk in the gym and they start doing it. And you're like, what? Just like, if you asked any pitcher, like, would you just step on the mound and
100%.
throw at 100%?
No.
Like, no, I'm going to jack my arm up.
Yeah, he's going to tear his shoulder.
Okay, same rule applies, people.
And is the pitcher only going to stretch and then throw 100%? Still, the answer is no. The pitcher is going to sit there and he's going to throw for a various amount of time until he feels like he's ready to take 100%.
Right, and he's gradually ramping it up, which is the same way we warm up. Empty barbell. Sometimes plate.
Sometimes a plate quarter.
Sometimes quarter.
Yeah.
And again, I'm on a bad day. I might have to take that empty barbell 30 reps.
Yeah.
I might have to do 3 sets of 10 or 2 sets of 15.
And, I might get up and then be like, guys, I'm not ready to go. I need to get back under there.
In 2 minutes, I'm back under there with an empty barbell again. And then I might take 135 several times too. Just depending on the day to, work up. And it's just laziness is what it is. Like, it's called a workout, or like work is involved.
Yeah.
And these are also the people that will never make it to 4-plate benchers or 6-plate squatters, 7-plate squatters. Cause we don't skip that workout. We don't skip that warm up. We're bar, plate, 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 plate.
We just sit there.
Oh, now I'm up to working weight. Well, I've been squatting for 45 minutes. I'm not even up to work weight yet. Yeah. Welcome to the club, dude. This is the price you pay.
This is the game. This is
the game.
This is the part about getting stronger that sucks.
Yeah.
Is that it takes you 40 minutes to warm up.
Right. Like, what'd you do today? I squatted. Now I have to come back and finish my workout.
Because I didn't get to
get it all in.
Because squatting takes me so long.
Right.
Like, people ask me, what takes us so long whenever doing a max effort? And I'm like, I can't just go from 400 to 800. Like, it doesn't happen.
And the other thing, when you warm up, if this is the one takeaway you get out of this section, great. You need to be intuitive about your warm-ups. We can give you cookie cutter stuff to like warm up with, but as time progresses, you should have your own warm-up routine for that specific day. Whether it's a lower body day or an upper body day, or a hybrid day. It should still all be the same. So how you warm up lower body is different than how I warm up lower body.
Right.
Even though I taught you over time have tweaked it and progressed it and made it fit you.
Right.
So you like sleds and other stuff. I don't want to get into your thing, but for me, it's different. I'm going to belt squat. I'm going to do some lunges. I'm going to do some side lateral movements. I'm going to do some hip cars, then try and take a barbell. Then if the barbell doesn't feel right, then I'm going to go back and think, okay, what else? Something's not activated.
Right.
So I might have to do some good mornings. I might have to get my abs online.
Right.
Like,
that's really, if it comes to like a squat day, like glute ham raises work for me in maybe a couple good mornings and abs, and that's really all I need.
Right.
Whereas like a deadlift day, it's completely different. Like, I'll get on the belt squat and I'll warm up my hips, I'll warm up my upper back, and that's all I need. Mm-hmm. Bench day, unless I hurt really bad, I don't do anything. I just get under the barbell and I just.
And see, bench takes me the longest.
And it's not, and I'm not saying everyone should just get under a barbell, Ethan. You need to go warm up. Turn your muscles on a little bit. But once you get good at it, and I can warm up with the barbell, because I'm going to warm up with the barbell for 20 minutes if that's how long I need.
Yeah.
So.
Eat right after your workout. This is a funny one. Because we just got a whole lot of gym bros' attentions right now. They're like, what?
The anabolic window.
Yeah. I'm going to be catabolic, bro.
You have an hour.
Catabolic.
An hour, 6 minutes, and 3 seconds before you start going catabolic.
I'm 168 pounds, man. If I go catabolic, I'm going to get small. Looks like a shirt on a fence post. No. So again, a lot of these myths come from not understanding where they even came from in the first place. So yes, everybody's body goes catabolic and anabolic at different times of the day. And like, I don't even want to go down that road. But I think people, again, need to fundamentally understand you cannot take something that comes from the pinnacle 1% of competitors and then apply it to your gym life.
Exactly. Like,
where this comes from is physique athletes that are running insulin.
Mm-hmm.
They have to eat. They're going to crash and go to the freaking ER. This does not apply to 99.9999% of people that even work out.
Right. And the majority of people thinking this way don't even realize that insulin is used.
Right.
Like, they don't even know what insulin is.
No. And other than something like their granny takes. But,
like, oh, that's for diabetes.
Yeah. And I don't want to, have people go, ooh, I need to get some insulin. I don't want to go down that road. It's a very dangerous compound to mess with if you do not, even if you do know what you're doing, it's still a dangerous compound. So when you work out, you break down muscle cells and then they start repairing. Mm-hmm. They don't repair in that first hour.
No.
You're not, you're going to be a little bit catabolic. And again, for the most part, you don't even fundamentally understand that word or how it applies to the body's cellular processes. But you're not going to start healing until you go to sleep that night, for the most part. As far as repair goes.
Yeah.
Like, yes, does your body send an anti-inflammatory response right off the bat? Mm-hmm. Yes, the process starts. But
the actual
not getting a protein shake or eating right afterwards is not going to make or break your physique in any way.
So I forget, it was somebody on one of Tate's podcasts went into that pretty well, mm-hmm. About how the reason why whole foods are so much more beneficial because of how long, because your body, you don't know when your body's ready to repair that muscle cell right. or make a new one. And you have to have a certain amount of all the amino acids have to be ready, this, and this. And so it's like the reason that whole foods are way better is because number one, they're taking a long time to digest in your body. And so they're there and readily available. Where if you just drink a protein shake, if your body's not ready to absorb it, you're just going to poop it out.
Yeah. You're just,
and so that's where it's like, you don't know when your body is ready to repair that muscle.
There's no way.
It could be at 2 a.m. It could be at 2:35. It could be at any time. It could be in the middle of the day. You don't know.
Right. What you have no way of knowing where your brain has decided where cell apoptosis needs to happen next.
And if you could, you would have more brain power than the entire human race.
Right. So, yes, you're breaking down muscle and your body's going to repair it, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that comes in place first.
Yeah.
Your body already knows, hey, my liver's getting repaired first. My brain's getting repaired first. Like all these other things are in line. Mm-hmm. So that little catabolic window that you guys keep running around about does not apply to you at all. And the only people this does apply to is people running insulin, and that's to keep them out of the hospital.
And people don't realize, like, the only thing that has to get restored, it doesn't even need to get restored, but that it can be restored right away, is like your glucogen levels. And even then, your body's still just going to start breaking down its glucogen storages and using those if you're not
but real talk,
replacing them.
How many people do you see in the gym that actually work out with enough intensity to even deplete themselves of the glucose that's in their bloodstream, liver, and muscle cells?
And then people, yeah, dude, I don't know.
That's 2 hours. That's 2 hours of going hard.
Yeah, but like that replacing your glycogen levels, like when people eat the Rice Krispies, they don't realize why they're eating the Rice Krispies. They're just like, oh, this is the new fad, and it makes me feel fantastic. It's like the Apple will do the same thing.
Because it actually it's broken down even more. It's already in a sugar form.
Yeah, like it's straight up ready to go. You guys don't know why, and you guys are just doing this because of fad. Like, start figuring out why you guys are doing things. Right. Start figuring, okay, why do you take pre-workout? Is it because it's a fad or because there's an actual reason?
Right.
The majority of it's fad. Even, I don't take pre-workout because it's beneficial for me. I just like it. Like, it just gets me going. That's really it. But figure out why you guys do what you do. Like,
yeah. Don't just follow the herd.
Exactly.
That's how you get a gym full of
ignorant figure out, okay, is the catabolic thing actually true? Like,
or does it even apply to me?
Like, you don't even need to open a college textbook. You can literally just go on YouTube and be like, basics of whatever. Basics of metabolism.
But the problem is their YouTube only has SARM videos.
Yeah.
It's one of her polls.
Yeah. Why are you taking SARMs? What do SARMs do? Before you decide to take some SARMs,
I just had to get a poke in
figure out what SARMs actually do and how to, if you had to, if it's even possible to get them out of your body.
Yeah, we'll go down that. We're going to be doing a podcast on SARMs, and we're going to piss off a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
But I'm going to. So hopefully we covered some of these gym myths that might help some of you all be a little more effective in the gym and plan accordingly. If we missed one, write it in the comments or send us a direct message if you don't want anybody else to see it. And I could do a follow-on video or a reel or something and address it for you. This was 10 out of like, I think the 30 most common.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot more.
Oh yeah.
That I'm sure people are going to have.
There's a bunch.
So thanks everybody. Hit like and subscribe if you want the podcast to come up so you guys get notified when we have new ones. The next one we're going to be doing is on gym etiquette, which we've got to do.
This will be a good one
because everybody needs it. All right, we're out.